This is a video for Lesson 18 Dialogue 2 and the 3 grammar points that are in the textbook. The first grammar point today is duration of activity, and this is when a sentence contains both a time expression indicating the duration of an action and an object. It needs to be formed in one of the two patterns. The first one is repetition of the verb, and the second is placement of the time expression before the object, often with the in between the both of them. So it would be time expression, the object. For pattern 1, which is repetition of the verb, we have 3 examples. The first is 她每天听录音听1个小时. She listens to the audio for an hour every day. Example 2, 她每天下午游泳游40分钟. She swims for 40 minutes every afternoon. And the third example, 她每天看英文报纸看2个小时. She reads English language newspapers for 2 hours a day. Pattern 2 for duration of activity is a placement of the time expression before the object, often with the in between the both of them. And you can see in all 3 examples that it is time expression plus the plus the object. For example 1, 她每天听1个小时的录音. She listens to the audio for an hour every day. Example 2, 她每天下午游40分钟的泳. She swims for 40 minutes every afternoon. And the last example, 她每天看2个小时的英文报纸. She reads English language newspapers for 2 hours every day. Both of these patterns work. It just kind of depends on which one you prefer to use more. I personally prefer to use pattern 2 just because it rolls off my tongue easier. But whatever one is easiest for you, just go ahead and use that one. The second grammar point for lesson 18 dialogue 2 is the particle 着. 着 signifies the continuation of an action or a state. When 着 is used between 2 verbs, the first verb is the accompanying action, while the second verb is the main action. So, for example 1, we have 老师站着教课，学生坐着听课. While the teacher stood lecturing, the students sat listening. So for the first part of example 1, we are talking about the teacher, about 老师, and we want to emphasize that the teacher is teaching class, 教课, so that is the second verb. However, they are also standing while they are teaching, so that is the first verb. In the second part of this example, we are talking about the student, and we are emphasizing how they are listening to the lecture, how they are 听课. So this is the second verb, and then the first verb is 坐. So we want to say that the students are listening to class, and that is more important, but they are also sitting. For example 2, 我喜欢躺着听音乐. I like to listen to music while laying down. So in example 2, we're emphasizing that you like to listen to music, but while you're listening to music, you are also laying down. For example 3, 美式足球可以抱着球跑. In American football, you can run while holding the ball in your hands. In this example, we are emphasizing the action of running, 跑, but we also want to say that while you are running in American football, you can also 抱着球, you can also hold the ball. However, we're emphasizing the running in this example. 着 is normally used after a verb to indicate a continuing action or a state. On the other hand, 在 is normally used before a verb to indicate an ongoing action. So, if someone asked you, 学生们在做什么呢? What are the students doing? You could simply answer with 在运动. They're exercising. For the question part of this example, 学生们在做什么呢? You are asking what the students are doing right now. So the action that they are currently doing. For 在 in this part of the example, 在运动, you are saying that the students are currently exercising. They are in the action of doing exercise. Just note that 在 in example 4 cannot be replaced with 这. Likewise, 这 in the previous examples on the previous slide cannot be replaced with 在. In some cases, 在 and 这 are interchangeable. However, the examples that I have shared in this video, they aren't. The third and last grammar point for Lesson 18 Dialogue 2 is the passive voice sentences using 被叫让. A sentence in the passive voice can be constructed with 被叫 or 让 using the following structure. Receiver of the action plus the 被叫让 plus agent of the action plus verb plus other element. So for example 1, we have 我的功课被叫让狗吃了. My homework was eaten by my dog. In the first example, the receiver of the action is the 功课 plus 被叫让 plus the agent of the action, which is the 狗 plus the verb 吃 plus the other element being 了. In example 2, we have 糟糕，你的网球拍被叫让我压坏了. Oh gosh, your tennis racket was crushed into pieces by me. In this example, the receiver of the action is the 网球拍, the tennis racket, plus 被叫让 plus the agent of the action 我 plus the verb 压坏 plus the other element 了. And in the last example, 你看我的梨被叫让你的西瓜压坏了. Look, my pears were crushed by your watermelon. Here, the receiver of the action is the pear, 梨, plus 被叫让, plus the agent of the action, which is the watermelon, 西瓜, plus the verb 压坏, plus the other element 了. Just make sure that you follow this sentence structure just like any other grammar pattern. If the sentence structure gets a little bit messed up, then what you are trying to say will not translate correctly. The passive voice is typically used in situations that are unpleasant for the receiver of the action or situations where they lost something. So the verb is usually followed by another element. In passive voice sentences with 被叫让, the agent of the action does not always need to be specified. So if you don't know who did the action, you can just refer to them as 人. And we can see this in example 1. We can say 我的信用卡被叫让人拿走了. My credit card was taken away by someone. So here you are implying that you did not see the specific person that took your card, so you don't know their name or anything, so we will just refer to them as 人. For example 2, 同学们在教室里又唱又跳，他快被吵死了. His classmates are singing and dancing in the classroom. He's being driven to distraction by the noise. We can note that with just 被, the agent of action can be omitted, and that is what we have in example 2. In example 1, we have 被叫 and 让, so we have an agent of action, which is 人. However, in example 2, we have just 被, so we don't have an agent of action. And sometimes that's okay. However, in this specific sentence, you can use the context clues and say that it is his 同学们 who are being super loud and they're also dancing. So they would be the agent of action in this case that is causing him to be driven to distraction. I know that as you go on learning Chinese, the grammar patterns and everything are starting to get a little bit more complicated, but I hope that these videos are helping you understand how to use the grammar and how you can incorporate them into your Chinese language learning.